Hello, BookTube. All right, that last mail haul got a little morbid. it took a turn into Debbie Downer territory. So this time, with these books, we're going to be cheerful and optimistic throughout. we'll start with this one. We're not going to let anything get us down. What is this first one? Okay. Okay, I didn't request this. Let's see what we have here. This is due in April. It's a thriller. It's by David Gibbons. It's called Inquisition. The Holy Grail is about to be unearthed. Okay. It's the latest Jack Howard historical thriller. What? Jack Howard? Isn't he a little short and doughy around the middle to be a hero in a thriller series? Who probably doesn't mean YouTube's Jack Howard, now that I think about it. From the internationally best-selling mastermind, David Gibbons. AD 256, Christians are being persecuted by the Roman Emperor Valerian, who demands that all relics be turned over to him. Secretly, Pope Sixtus passes the greatest relic of them all to a follower who entrusts it to the Jewish community in Spain. Okay. All right, we're going to stay cheerful and optimistic. We're not going to let this bother us. the Holy Grail, as a MacGuffin in fiction, is explicitly Christian, right? It wouldn't be holy if it had just been the drinking vessel of an ordinary person, or an ordinary prophet, or an ordinary Jew. No, instead, it's holy because the story behind it is that it was the drinking vessel of the Messiah. Come to Earth. So I'm not really sure why the Jewish community in Spain would bother to protect it. Then we jump to 1684. Samuel Pepys has been sent to oversee the evacuation of the English colony of Tangier in the face of threats from Moors and Barbary pirates. Officially, his job is to compensate the colonists for their losses. Unofficially, he is there to attempt to retrieve an incredible treasure that has resurfaced after more than 1,000 years. What? Samuel Pepys is even less convincing as an action hero than Jack Howard. And then we move to the present day. I don't know how we're going to top those first two. Jack Howard, oh, him again, and his team are excavating the 17th century shipwreck off Cornwall in England. Thanks. Nice to know which Cornwall we're talking about. Jack realizes that the wrecked cargo contains clues to an ancient mystery, in a quest that brings him to a deadly confrontation with the present-day inheritors of the Inquisition. He goes to North Africa, to Portugal, and across the Atlantic to the sunken ruins of a pirate city of Port Royal in Jamaica, then to a 17th century silver mine that becomes a descent into hell itself, all in the search for the greatest lost treasure of Christendom, the fabled Holy Grail. Okay, all right. This comes out in April. I will certainly review it somewhere, somehow, and I will point out that you don't have to bother filling your latest historical thriller with all sorts of painstakingly researched historical details if the one thing you're going to leave unquestioned right at the heart of the story is mythological. If that's the case, then why bother with any of the rest of it? Although you've got Samuel Pepys as a daring-do international seagoer to Tangier, then you're probably not worried about historical accuracy anyway. So I'll just enjoy it. I'll just enjoy it for the fun of it. Oh, okay, all right. Next one we won't bother to look at because it's a Kirkus book. I review books all the time for Kirkus Review, and I sometimes get, most of the time it's electronic copies, but sometimes I get a printed book in the mail. And some of you have asked why I don't hold them up on camera. Why don't show them and talk about them? I did at the beginning until I realized what that was wrong to do. And the reason is because my reviews for Kirkus are anonymous. So I'm not going to hold up the book and associate myself with it when the whole strength of the operation is that it's Kirkus reviewing the book, not me, not any one particular person. It's Kirkus reviewing the book with their name and their reputation. But I can say it's a very nice looking finished hardcover. So it gets my hopes up. Because I do only the indie branch of Kirkus. I do only self-published books. And as all you self-published authors will know, self-published fiction especially is a perfect example of how you can judge a book by its cover. Since there's no way for the author to dodge. If you know, the new Karen Hall has a bad or boring cover, if the new Alan Hollinghurst has a boring American cover, then the author can hide behind the publisher's art department. But when it's a self-published book, everything about it is determined by the author. So you decide the paper stock, you decide the size of the book, you decide the cover, you decide everything. So if it looks bad on you. so I'm always glad to see when a self-published book looks good. And boy, oh boy, so many of the self-published electronic books that I get to review for Kirkus, not the printed ones, but so many of the electronic ones look so good. And the same publishers keep coming up over and over again. The Westbow Press, for instance, the religious publisher, they do such a good job formatting their electronic books. But a lot of other people do too, including a whole bunch of self-published stuff that it looks to me like it was electronically formatted by the author. And it's still, it's painstaking work has been put in to making it look really good. So I love it. I absolutely love it. Years and years and years ago, an editor for the other side of Kirkus Reviews, the famous side, the one with all the new books. You don't pick up a book in a bookstore from a traditional publisher without seeing Kirkus blurb on it. And years and years ago, an editor from the traditional side of Kirkus put out feelers as to whether or not they could maybe poach me. And my editor said, at the time, well, I would understand completely. You'd be getting, you know, much bigger books. You'd be getting, you know, noteworthy books. I'll just hate to lose you. And I thought about it for a tiny amount of time, maybe one dog walk, and then realized, no. I have plenty of venues for reviewing, you know, the noteworthy mainstream press. I would never even see this stuff, this self-published stuff. Otherwise, I would never even hear about it. I wouldn't know it was out there. And it's brought me too much joy, even frustration. Even the frustration is joyful. So I am Kirkus Indie for life. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. The next one is by Sebastian Rotella, and it's called Rip Crew. It comes out in March. And Sebastian Rotella is an award-winning investigative journalist for ProPublica. Okay. And in it, Valentine Pescatori all right, has not only followed the rules, but his skills are prized by those who know he is a relentless, streetwise investigator. When he's recruited by an old flame, now a top official at Homeland Security, to investigate the massacre of a group of women, he is told to keep his movements covert. What at first appears to be just another case of brutality in the migrant smuggling underworld is revealed to be a much more complex and perverse crime with international repercussions. With more than 25 years of experience as a hard-hitting reporter, Rotella, our author for Rip Crew, has been nearly everywhere and seen nearly everything. His fiction is revealing and true to life because it is informed by on-the-ground reporting he does every day. Okay, all right. I requested it from Mulholland Books. I like the cut of his jib. I wanted to take a closer look at it, and the publicist wrote back, "Is sure thing? We'll send you a copy right away." And then it's sort of a quick P.S. She wrote, "It's terrific." And as I mentioned on this channel before, I deal with a lot of publicists every day, except Sundays. And I've come to know quite a few of them, and even the ones I don't know, I've come to know their ways. And when I've been dealing with a publicist for a while, and I've been requesting books, and they say, "Sure thing, I'll get it out to you right away, consider it in the mail," that sort of thing. Usually, since they've got a stack of emails in their inbox, and so have I, usually it's friendly but quick. It's just that dry. Could you send me a copy of this book for possible review? Yeah, I could. I'll get right on it. They have my address. They know where I am. They know what to do. And they know you know, that I'm an active working book reviewer. I'm not just saying, oh, I happened to see something in the street window, mildly intrigued me. No, I'm a working reviewer. There's a good chance that a review will result. It won't always necessarily be a good review, but so usually it's that. Usually it's very businesslike. There are quite a few publishers, probably 2 or 3 dozen at this point, where we've developed a friendship over the years. So the emails are, you know, they're spiked with dog news and kid news and that sort of thing. But over the years, I've noticed that when a publicist is doing a quick, dry exchange, just, you know, got it, thank you for your interest, I'll send it right out, and they take a moment to say, by the way, this one's really good, I actually pay attention. I pay a little bit more attention. Not because I'm biddable, and not because I've forgotten that it's their job to be behind their books, but because that note almost always means that that the publicist has actually read and liked the book. And they're all book people. So that it functions almost as an ordinary civilian recommendation. I actually love it. And the publicist said that for this. She said that. I'll get it out to you right away, and by the way, you're going to love it. And that interests me. I mean, I was going to read it anyway, but that interests me. So let's see. And I've also had publicists, some of whom know me. They've known me for years, so they can be a little bit off the cuff with me. I've had some of them where I request some incredibly recondite work of history, or some huge Megillah of a thing that's coming down the pike. And they'll write back and say, sure thing, I'll get it right out to you in the mail, and better you than me. For one of their own books. I love it. All right, so what do we got here next? Oh, good. Okay, great. This is a novel. It's called First Person. It's by Richard Flanagan, The Narrow Road to the Deep South. That Richard Flanagan. Or to the Deep North, rather, sorry. I believe I made parenthetical mention of ugly U.S. covers, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. This is coming to me without a pub sheet. And I'm sure it will have praise for The Narrow Road to the Deep North, since every book reviewer in the world loved that book. Let's see who praised it. A.C. Grayling praised it. He's not even a book reviewer. He's a philosopher. Michael Gorham. Michael Williams at The Guardian, Ron Charles at The Washington Post, and the blurbs just go on and on. Good Lord. Okay, so what have we got? What have we got here for First Person? It's the hypnotic tale about a ghostwriter and a con man whose lives become increasingly intertwined. The phone rings in the middle of the night. Notorious con man and corporate criminal Siegfried Heidel, about to go on trial for defrauding the banks of $700 million, has a job offer. Kif Kelman, a young penniless writer, ghostwriting his memoir. He has 6 weeks to complete the book. As the writing gets underway, Kelman begins to fear that he is being corrupted by Heidel, and as the deadline draws closer, he becomes even more unsure if he is ghostwriting a memoir or if Heidel is rewriting him, his life, his future. Everything that can be certain grows uncertain as he begins to wonder who is Siegfried Heidel and who is Kif Kelman. By turns compelling and comic and chilling, First Person is a haunting journey into the heart of our age by an author who lives in Tasmania and so can know precious little. But you never know. And one of the blurbs on the back is chilling. It says, First Person is a parable for the age of Trump. And I don't know that people who are writing blurbs like that understand how toxic that is. That is not going to get anyone to say, "Oh, then I've got to read it." It's not the way. That's not the way it's working. I don't. The other people who write blurbs like that are thinking, you know, the populace of the United States, red or blue, and the populace of the rest of the world are all thinking, "Oh, what a show this is! This is so much fun." And not many people are thinking that way. But it doesn't matter anyway, because I'd be willing to bet from that description that they end up being the same person. But we'll see. I could be wrong. It's a long way from now. What did I say it was? Yeah, it's in April. So I could be eating crow in April. So let's see. Let's see what the next one is. This is the last one. These are all manila envelopes. No cardboard this time around, but you never know. You never know what's coming. Oh my. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, this is from Harvard University Press. It's due in February in hardcover. And it's by Martin Frampton, and it's called The Muslim Brotherhood and the West. Big, thick thing. Very, very detailed. The Muslim Brotherhood and the West is the first comprehensive history of the relationship between the world's largest Islamist movement and the Western powers that have dominated the Middle East for the past century, Britain and the United States. The relationship between the two. In the decades since the Brotherhood emerged in Egypt in the 1920s, the movement's notion of, quote, the West has remained central to its worldview and a key driver of its behavior. From its founding, the Brotherhood stood opposed to the British Empire and Western cultural influence more broadly. As British power gave way to American, the Brotherhood's leaders, committed to a vision of more authentic Islamic societies, oscillated between anxiety or paranoia about the West and the need to engage with it. They oscillated between anxiety or paranoia about the West and the need to engage with it. What happened? Did your treat go down the side here? She gets up here and then eats her treat right over the crack between the couch and the wall. And as a result, the treats go missing. There it is. There it is. Here you go. Here you go. No, don't put it there. Go somewhere. Oh, there you go. Good. There you go. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Western officials, for their part, struggled to understand the Brotherhood, unsure whether to shun the movement as one of dangerous fanatics or to embrace it as a moderate and inevitable part of the region's political scene. Too often, diplomats failed to view the movement on its own terms, preferring to impose their own external agendas and obsessions. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Too often, diplomats failed to view the movements on its own terms, preferring to impose their own external agendas and obsessions. Too often, Western diplomats failed to view the movement on its own terms. Instead, they were imposing their own obsessions, their own weird obsessions about how gay people should be treated, about how women should be treated, about how non-Muslims should be treated. It's a terrible thing when Western diplomats and officials start imposing their own obsessions about whether or not people should be thrown off buildings. Okay, all right. Well, the pub sheet is incandescently infuriating. But the book might not be. So we'll see. We'll see what the book is like. I will certainly. It's early in the next year, so it will be right on the list to read early. That description is infuriating. It's just infuriating. More authentic Islamic societies. That's how the Muslim Brotherhood is being described here. What happened? What's the matter? Did you lose your treat again? Or are you bored with it? She might be bored with it. Or she might be bored with me. I've been ranting for the last 10 minutes. All right, so here, let's see. Did you lose it again? If you wouldn't eat it there, you wouldn't lose it there. That's not anything you're going to get, but... Okay. All right. Well, it's good that we're at the end, because I've got to move the furniture again. Anyway, I put the blanket up here specifically to block the gap, and she moved it. And as a result, her treat has disappeared. I don't have it, because I'm going to have to move the couch to get it, thanks to you. But anyway, let's do a book pyramid and then call it a day. And we weren't successful in being cheery and happy all the way to the end, but I ask you. Anyway, so we've got the Muslim Brotherhood and the West. That fraught relationship between people, one group of people who just wants more authentic Islamic societies, and the other group of people who, you know... All right, let's just move on. First Person by Richard Flanagan. Rip Crew by Sebastian Rotella, the reporter. And David Gibbons' Inquisition. about a very factual hunt for the crockery used by the Son of God. so it's a bit of a frustration sandwich either way. But anyway, that we're gonna have to try for a completely cheery mail haul next time. We'll see if we can manage that. I'm gonna go for now and move the couch and hunt around for a chew toy. Something I do 4 times a day now. I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.